Hello everybody, it's Crafty Chris here again tonight with another Scrap Your Scraps episode, and tonight we're going to be working with circles again. This time we're going to be doing a circular layout with circles, and I spent some time prepping for this by making 6 of each size circles. So I had almost enough punches. I didn't have one size, so I have a 3/4 punch, I have a 1-inch punch, I have a 1 1/4 punch, I have a 1 1/2 inch punch, I made a 1 3/4 template, and I have a 2-inch punch. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sizes of circles that we're using tonight. So I did 6 sets of 6 circles. So let me just get those out of the way for now. All right, so here are the color lines I chose. I chose a really sort of light gray, a little bit on the warm side gray background, and I chose my circle sizes in a variety of pinks and whites, and well, it's actually a very light gray, so pinks and grays, and those were the colors that I chose for today. So if you have your 6 sets of 6 circles in 1/4 inch increments, then let's get started on how we're going to lay these out. So the first thing I got to do is I got to make that circle on my page, and I don't have a big circle template to do any tracing with, so I just traced a plate, and now this has become my template that I use whenever I need a circle. And I'm noticing I got a bit of a fold there. Don't want to fold because you want to make sure you get a nice, even, balanced circle. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pencil and lightly go around the outside edge of this. I will be covering over the line, so I'm not so afraid if it's a little on the dark side. So my template then goes back on my ring of different size templates, and I hang that in my workspace. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to open up that a bit. So here is my circle. I can see it more clearly than you can on the screen. It's centered in the middle of my my page. And I am going to now mark my beginning points. So I have 6 circles. I want 2 opposite, and then on thirds I'm going to measure at opposites again. So first of all, I'm going to, this is like, it's not an exact science, but I kind of want to have, I don't want to have it corner to corner. I want to have it slightly off corner. So I'm going to eyeball the edge of my ruler, and I tend to use the back, which has my maiden name on it, and I'm eyeballing where it might be halfway on the circle. Now you can't see my line, but my line goes like that. So I'm just going to mark one mark here and one mark here, because that tells me my starting point when I put my first circles down. And I'm going to put all my first circles down at the same time. And it's just easier to manage. Now this one becomes a little tricky because you got to eyeball, it's like cutting pie. You got to eyeball that third wedge, you know, and make sure that you're getting like half, an actual half on each side pie. So we're just going to kind of eyeball it on either side, and I'm going to alrighty, so let's get that pie happening here. So there is, here's my 2 marks for my first line, and I figure that kind of looks fairly decent for my second line, so I marked it at the top and the bottom. And now I'm going to try and do the other one kind of right in the middle between this one and this one, and this one and this one. And that should get us more or less in thirds. If it's not perfect, it's not going to matter. Whoops, she says as she makes a mistake. All right. Okay, now, so I've got my marks. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks, and they're more or less equally spaced apart. So now I'm going to start with my biggest circles touching those points. So I'm just going to put out all my biggest circles. And I want my circles to be so that the line is going halfway through. Let me show you what I mean by that. So when I glue that down, it looks as if the big circle line is underneath going halfway through the upper circle. So that's what I'm looking for. And I'm just going to pull out all these. I got my circles out of my workspace because I have a tendency to knock them off my table. Okay, and this one's a little bit different. It's got some stitching on it. All right, so as far as glue is concerned, just your random glue that you have lying around. You don't need to worry about too much. It's not holding anything. You just want to make sure you're covering that first line and that the line of your circle is going about halfway through. So we're just going to stick all those down with that idea. There we go. And the reason I didn't want to have it going up and down vertically is because it just kind of becomes too organized looking and not as interesting. So everything is kind of tilted off from top and bottom. And I just want to make sure, giving myself some space. Like I said, it's not really holding anything down, but you want to make sure your line is going through the center of the circle. Oh, way more than I needed on that one. Okay, there we go. So that's basically it. I just made sure that that didn't follow the line of the circle so that it's becomes an element rather than a part of the circle. All right, now we're going to take our second big, actually we're going to take each section. We're going to go from one color to the next color. We have to kind of lay them out because this one is going to stick under there, and then they're going to stick on top of each other from there. And you want to kind of have them balanced so that you can see the colors, but they're kind of spread out enough that you can see the colors, but you know that they're evenly dispersed. Okay, so my way of doing this is I always start with the bottom one, and I just put a little bit of adhesive to start, and that's the adhesive that's going underneath. Should probably, it doesn't matter, underneath this piece here. Then I'm going to take another piece and just stick it under there a little bit and line it up with the center. And then I'm going to take another piece, and I'm only putting tape on the bottom section because I still want to make sure that I can see and fuss around with the things that are coming above it so that I can play around a little bit with balance if I need to. But it looks like we're doing good. This should work out pretty good. I just want to see where my circle line is, because we still want to keep that circle, so we still want these pieces. And this one I can tape completely, because I can guess where the line is coming there. There we go. And there you are. It's kind of balanced. Now, if you want to go back and just put one little piece of adhesive underneath those pieces, you don't have to. Oops. And a little bit under the, I'm not even going to bother with the little one. And there we go. So now I'm going to take my next piece. I can see about how much I need to insert it, so I'm going to actually start with my top piece, and I'm going to adhere it properly, because I can see how much of this space I really kind of need to cover. All right. There we go. And do that. To make sure it, whoops, nope, wrong side. That's the other thing. You have to make sure, especially if you have patterns like I have here, you want to make sure you have the right side showing up. Okay, get my little glue thingy here. Take off some of that adhesive. All right. So I want this side. And that's going to cover about that much. And I think I want to show a bit more pattern on that one. There we go. This is pink. Got to double check all the time. And that should be not much. Want to make sure that it has the same kind of weight to it, so it's balanced. And this is the gray side I need. Really only need one little bit. And I'm going to stick that under there. And that looks good. There we go. Take my next set. Once you've done that first set, the rest of it is kind of easy. You just need to pay attention to the amount of space that you're occupying on the previous, and trying to make sure that you're getting halfway, the line's going halfway through this circle. There we go. And I think I'm going to show more of the stripe on that one. There we go. And the pink. Let me see. That's about right, that's about right, that's about right. So this is a little bit less. And I'm noticing this, I'm going to have to spread out slightly more because it's a little wider. So that's if I'm not quite matching the, so when I do my lines across my page, if they're not quite equal thirds, I might have to do a little bit of adjusting so that everything fits in properly. There we go. There we go. And the next set. And then I want the gray. Alrighty. Okay, so this is a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to move this up a little more. So I can spread this last two out a bit more. There we go. That's a little more balanced. This guy needs to go in there just a little more. There we go. Alrighty, there we are. For some reason this one really looks out to me. There we go, that's better. Alrighty, our second last set. Making sure we're keeping our eye on that center part. Centering the circles. Keeping the same distance as much as possible. And so really I had the idea that this would be good for a baby page. It would be good for a Mother's Day page. I've got my number 6 on there, so I better rub that off before I put this on. There we go. That was my counting out what colors I needed. Yeah, baby page, Mother's Day page, girls dance page. Geez, anything that's kind of on, or Easter even, you know. The colors of the season, basically. Okay, so I am having some perspective issues here with my eyeballs. Let's move this down just a little. There we go. There we are. That's better. And then our last round. Oh, wrong side again. It's a good thing I have this handy dandy little tool. As long as you get to it right away. The tape can come off fairly easy. If you leave it on too long, you won't get it off without a lot of effort and possibly torn paper. And again, just to get the glue that's left over off of there, so it's not sticky. You don't want sticky. There we go. Now I want the pink up and the gray down. There we go. Pink up and the gray down. And we'll just stick that a little bit under there. There we are. Okay, so there is our circular, and I just move it around and until I kind of see something that has a balance that makes sense to me, because sometimes the colors are darker on one side depending on where you cut it from the paper. So I think I like what I see right now. Now I'm going to get my my mat measuring. This is my mat measuring thing, and it has all kinds of sizes of photos. I don't think I want to go as big as a 5x7 on this. I think I want to do 4x6s, or maybe a 4x6 and a 4x4, or possibly two 3x4s and a 4x6. All of these are options. Something on there. There's 3x4, 3x4. Okay. I'll have to put all those back together after. All right, so what can I do? I can do some 4x6s, and they can cross over a little bit. I wouldn't mat on this because the background is so pale. Or I can do, well, I can do 4x6s the opposite direction. I could have just turned it. And then I have room for a title in here or some journaling. Or I can do two 4x6s side by side with the title underneath. Or I can do a 4x6 and two 3x4s. Like that. That doesn't really leave me room for journaling. Maybe I can do a 4x4 and two 4x6s. And then I could have a spot for a journal here. If I reverse it and do something like that. And then I have a space for some journaling, kind of making everything line up. I have a journal spot. Actually, I don't mind that too much. I think too many 4x6s doesn't work for me. What if I did a 4x6 and a 4x4? Let's see what we can do here. And a 3x4. Or even if I push this down, move this over here. I have a tendency to always have my titles on the right hand side of the page. I could change that up. You want to make sure you're not taking away from that beautiful border you just made around the paper. Something like that with the title across the top and some journaling. I don't know. The 4x6s aren't working for me, so I think I'm going to go with this idea where I have this one going this way and this one going this way. And I think I'm going to shift it down just a little bit. Something like that. And then I'm going to have some space for journaling and a space for a title. So I am going to make this a Mother's Day layout. So I am going to grab a few things. I'm going to grab my words. I have lots of words. Go through this. This is my word pile. Have it contained in a little container. Okay, so I've been digging through my stash, and I feel like I want to put something else on here. Like this is where my supposed pictures are going to go. I have some really interesting viable things as decor, but it really depends on what I do in terms of the actual sentiment. So I've got something like Best Ever, which I will color and treat differently. So if I'm looking at Mother's Day, do I want Best Ever Mother's Day? Or I have some of these sentiments that were on an old set of paper, and I like the word beautiful, and it kind of adds like a color into the mix. This is all very neutrally, and so that would stand out. So I have Your Story I could put on there, Mother's Day, but I don't know, that's not doing it for me either. And then I have words that are gold like this. I could put XO up there. It's big enough to be a title, and it's got gold in it, so it's kind of adding another tone to the paper. I was looking at this, but I was looking more at the flowers with the pink in it, but I don't know that I want to add some black in there, so that's now not getting me all excited. So I also have just this little simple statement, wonderful, that I could put just right in that spot, and it could be pictures of my mother-in-law, and it could just say wonderful, and then I could have something going on down here, and that's a rub-on, so that that doesn't thrill me because it has nothing to it. Or I could just put lovely. So in order for me to make up my mind, I think I am going to have to pull it out, cut it, and place it there, and see if I really like it. So what I do is I grab my big scissors for big jobs. These are the two that I'm interested in. So I'm gonna actually pull those out and cut them apart and see how I like them when they're down with less around them. And so I could just have lovely there, which is kind of nice. And or I could have XOXO there, kind of like that too. So if I had either of those, that brings gold into it. Alright, so I'm going to just put those aside, and I'm just going to think about this beautiful. It's very simple. Let me cut it nicely from this strip of paper. Let's see if I prefer it. And this is kind of heavy cardstock, so I want to make sure that I'm got a good line on it. There we go. Put this with the other pieces. And I don't need to have that dot. I want a bit of a border there. And maybe I'll take just a tiny bit off of this side. There we go. It's a little more balanced. Can't get that piece off there. And so I could do something like this beautiful, and I could pop dot that. Actually, I kind of like that. I like that better than the gold. The gold is too, doesn't have the same kind of punch. It almost looks dark in a way. So we're sticking with the turquoise. Made my choice. Alrighty, so that's one thing out of my stash that I happen to hang on to, which is a smart idea. Now I have some of these other things going on, like I have some butterflies. Do not like the orange on that. And you know what, the purple doesn't work for me either, so that's gone. I have butterflies I can use and change the color of them. I have flowers that I can use and change the color on them, just like something in the corner here. I was looking at this big flower. It's got a bit of the yellow, which I find in here, so placing it down here would kind of bring those colors together. I imagine without the yellow behind it. Oh, pardon me. Spring is in the air. And then I had all these little bitty bit stickers, and there's some things in here. I've got multiples of these, because at one point I was buying multiples of these. I don't want any of that. Roses are too red, but I have, for instance, some of these little flowers, which might be actually not very impactful. Same with these, not very impactful. They don't bounce out much. Got some purple. The purple and pink are pretty close together. And I got some blue, too pale. And then I got more purple, too pale. Okay, so those aren't working for me either. Okay. So, here is what I'm thinking. And then my journaling will go there. Let me just see what is in here that might work. There's some turquoise in here. Let's see what we've got. Actually, maybe we can do it all from this little batch of stuff. Look at these pretty turquoisey flowers. Yeah. Unless I cut them into 2 bits. Maybe if I had some of them coming out of there. Maybe. That's a maybe. And what else do we have in here? They have multicolored birds, but that's a little too much, I think. Try to keep it simple. There's 2 pink flowers. That one's a little more along the color line. So what if we had something like this in the corner with a little bit of turquoise coming out, and then putting a little more turquoise in there. Alrighty. This isn't really the right color. Oh, that's... What if we move that down just a little? Put that in just a bit there. See how pages come together when you least expect it. And that nice piece of green with turquoise in it. Whoa, okay. Starting to like this page already. And it's really just looking through your stash, what you have. I don't think I need 2 of those. What does this say? This is just a cloud, gnat, pens, birds, white stuff. What would that look like if I added that as a counterbalance? Maybe. Alright, that's one set. So now let me open the other part of this. Just Still like these little butterflies that I've got going there. Oh, you know what? I will put those away later. And this is the mini batch. Up here, what do we got going up here? More clouds. Don't think I need to add any clouds in. That kind of doesn't make sense. No, no, I'm still looking for something there. That's not really the right colors. Okay. Maybe I will have these guys go flying all over the place. Here. And I'm kind of late here. I don't know. Okay. And what else do we have in here? Purple and pink. Now I'm losing the circles. There's a pink butterfly. That actually could go up there. And then I don't have to color that. That works. Oh, little pink flower. Little word heart with the word devotion. A little of something. Something, something. Yellow. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I gotta be careful not overwhelm. This I think is too big. Now we have these 3 little hearts. Don't really need a lot down here. I just need something that's going to fill this space, but isn't gonna be look. Okay, but I do like that turquoise a little better than the pink. Okay. Orange, no. Green, no. Yellow, no. Hands, no. Making stuff happen, no. There's another kind of leaf. That's the right color. It might be a little too big. Yeah, not liking that. That's fine there. We need more green here. Don't think I even need that there. Alright, that's it. And that can go back in there. It's always nice to put things back when you're done with it. And with my videos, you will hear me thinking out loud. I don't tend to hold back. I think it's better if you hear what my reasoning is for things. And then that way you can kind of hear that in your head. Whoops. When you're creating your own work, you can hear how I question myself. Alrighty, I think this is starting to look okay. So all the rest of the stuff I'm going to get out of my way. Put it all away later. Not too sure what's going on there. Do like this, do like this. I actually like that little banner. Gives it a little something extra. Pictures, space for journaling. This is too much, so I think I'm going to cut this down. There's an awful lot of white on here too. So I am going to cut it right here. There we go. And I'm just going to trim down this white a little bit. I'm not a big fan of these die cuts that have a lot of white around the outside. The inside I can't really control, but I can control the outside, so I'm gonna just take a little of this off and it becomes less obvious. There we go. And here I can trim quite a bit. There we go. And you'll notice that I move my paper rather than moving my scissors. I find that you have more control. Except, of course, in little tiny places, you want to be careful. And I don't use the tip of my scissors. I use sort of in the middle to the back of my scissors when I'm fussy cutting, only because it tends to, again, give me more control. There we go. That's a little better. Oh, we're missing a little bit on here. And this again is just all stuff I had purchased with other kits and other pages that I've done. This is all leftover stuff hanging around. Didn't really have a use for it at the time. So that's a little less obvious. When you look at the two, oh, you can't really see that because I've got a little light paper here. But if you look at the two, look at all the white that's around that one, and now that I've reduced it, it looks a lot less like an issue. And we can stick that there. Maybe we'll put this up here. I can go down there. And then I'm just going to trim this a little. Thank you for your patience in the trimming, but you're probably trimming your own stuff as we speak. Sometimes if I'm going to be taking, like, I have a feeling that this isn't going to show, this little flower, so I likely will trim that little flower off. If it shows, that's fine. If it doesn't show, I'll trim it off and hang on to it for another layout. Because there's no sense wasting flowers. Flowers can always be put on a layout. And let me just trim this back down. Alrighty. Almost there. Got less white. And I don't do a perfect job, but you know what? Nobody's watching. And nobody's really looking at that when they're looking at the whole page. So give yourself a break. You don't have to be a perfectionist because nobody knows how perfect you're trying to make it. I'm gonna take that out. There we go. I used to be very, very precise. I used to use rulers a lot. I used to need to know measurements. And then I realized that nobody really looks at that stuff. If nobody says to me, wow, Chris, I really like how you measured that and put that in the corner. It fits perfectly. Yeah, this little flower is going to disappear. So I'm just going to trim that off right there. And let's see how we can stick that there. Actually, this little guy can come out here. Or up here maybe. There we go, something like that. Awesome. Okay, I'm liking it, liking it, liking it. Okay, now how do we put all this stuff down? Let's start with the title. And I am just going to draw around my little pictures here just to give myself a sense of where this is going to go when I lay out my pictures. I don't want it permanent, so I'm going to do a very light sketchy outline. Whoop, trying to keep it, well, more or less straight. There's the phone, never fails. Somebody will get it at some point. There's those two guys, and now this guy is going to go right underneath, about the same distance. And across. There we go. So that gives me, I'll bring this up just so you can see it, a sense of where my photos are going to go. And because I'm covering it, this is a 3 by 4, 3 by 4, and that's a 4 by 4, just so I know, because I don't have photos at the moment. Alrighty, now let's lay this all down. I'm going to put this first. Should I snip that a little? No, I'm okay with that. Alrighty, so this is very small. Rather than try to stick it on with tape, I'm just going to dot glue on each of the little banner thingies and on the edge of the banner. And then I am going to try to, have to stand to do this, bring it a little closer. And I'm going to try to avoid my photos, but I want to kind of get it, I'm going to eyeball it with each side. There we go. And hopefully that looks pretty balanced. Now this guy I'm going to pop dot, so I just need to grab my pop dots. Don't have any big pop dots, which is a bit annoying. So I'm going to have to put quite a few little ones because you've got to support the whole title. So I think I'm going to probably use 6 or 8. Make sure it stays up, doesn't get crushed. Alrighty, pop those. And now, again, just going to eyeball this to see if I can keep it all straight and lined up. There we go. That looks not bad. Hopefully that's straight. It's hard to see with the camera in front of me. Alrighty, now this guy, I'm going to trim him out just really quickly. Don't like all the weight on this butterfly. Gonna have to keep a little bit of the weight for his antenna, but I don't have to keep it all. go. Take some of that. Take some of that. And I'm just going to trim this a little bit more. There we go. And just finish off the wings a little bit. Okay. Alrighty, now cut into the belly a little bit. There we go. That's a whole lot better than it was. And now I'm going to actually fold the wings back from the body, and I am going to stick this butterfly down flat on the paper, but it will have some, it'll stand up from the paper because I've only glued the body part of it. So that's going to go in like that. And I have to make sure it's not going to end up, if it's flattened, not going to end up going off the page on either side. So and there we go. There's our little butterfly. Not really convinced about this corner yet, but these little guys, these are made out of paper, and they often have little pieces of leftover attacher bits. I don't know what the proper word is for that, but and it kind of interferes with the whole look. So I try to snip those off because they are made out of paper. And then I'm going to color those. It's going to be a bit of a longer night tonight, folks. You might want to watch this one in 2 sessions. There we go. So we'll color those. That's done. This I'm not 100% yet, probably because of this. And again, let's do some trimming in on the outside edge of this. Just looks way too white. See how it looks when I trim some of it down. I may have to go in and trim all of it down, but we'll see what happens. Okay, just a little bit more. Yeah, I wish they would die cut these just a little closer, but I guess when you're working with machines, they can slip and end up causing a problem, so more is better. And if you don't like it, you can do what I do and be insane and fussy cut everything. Alrighty, almost done here. There we go. I may take some more of the inside, depends. Depends what happens when I stick it behind here. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. Okay, so let's get a few things happening here. Let's get our leaf going down into the corner. I'm going to use regular adhesive, but I'm only going to tape the base. We don't even need the stem, so I'm going to just take that off because it'll get in the way. Now, I am going to push into the center of my leaf, so I'm sort of bending it up like a leaf would be bent, curling the corner under, and on the back side I'm curling this one edge because I've already put adhesive on the other edge. So I'm curling this edge, the bottom edge. The center goes in the opposite direction, and then the tip goes over, just to give it a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Depth. So this is going to go there. So I don't even need that little bit. Let's see. This is going to go there. Yeah. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape down here. Stick that right on there like that. And then I'm going to have this come out like that. Let's see, right along the edge there. Now, I am going to round these flowers a little bit. Actually, I'll round them the other way so they're popping out towards us, because these little flowers are kind of like cups. And then I'm just going to glue down the spine and leave the flowers cupped, so it gives it a little bit of dimension. And if that's going there, I want the flowers to show. I'm going to put that like that. So now these guys are cupped. They have a little life of their own. This guy, I can pull him up too, give him a little bit of height and play. This guy I can cup as well. This one almost all the way around, which is kind of cool. And this one can be cupped a little. This one can be cupped. And cupping, I'm just taking my nail and running it up so that the paper turns inward. And that's what I mean by cupping. When I go the opposite way, so the flower's popping up, then I call that rounding. Just nobody's terms but my own. Now I want to be careful that I cover everything. Okay, so this is going to come out there. And that's just going to come out right there. There we go. I like it. Lift this up. I'll put just a little on there, making sure the cupping is still happening. goes under here. This goes there. Wait a second. There we go. And that one's going to go under there, so I'm going to actually need some glue on this one. Oops, running out of glue. Don't ever glue where you've got things cupped, or else you'll end up in a problem. So that covers, and that covers. Beautiful. And now this one, we are going to do two things. We're going to rub into the center, because the center is going to have a little bit of cupping happening. Okay, so just a little tiny bit of cupping. And then on the outside, we're going to round the very ends of this flower. And round it aggressively. Hopefully you have a flower that's made out of cardstock. If it's made out of paper, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful. Okay, and now I'm going to go back in and round in there. Fold along my petal lines so it has some give. And make sure everything's rounding at the edges. And place it so that it covers most everything. There we go. And that's our corner. Now look how dimensional this page is just by doing that little bit of play with the flower. Now this guy here, I think I'm probably going to put some stickle or epoxy glue on that because it's just a little too flat, but I kind of like the idea of it. So I'm going to stick it down quite well because epoxy will make your paper lift. And we're going to do again from the center out. We're going to do some cupping on this one. It's too small to be rounded, so we're just going to cup. Put some glue on the bottom. Make sure we've got that nicely cupped. And that's going to stick right there. Okay. And the only thing we have left to do now is these little butterflies. And the butterflies, I want to do in a turquoisey color. I have a new marker. I don't know what color it is. It says Cool Shadow. That's not quite the color I'm looking for. So we are not going to use that. We are going to use, what about this? I have these, what would that look like? It's kind of blue, a little too blue maybe. I have a green. Maybe this would be better. Actually, a combination of the two would be kind of cool. Alright, so I am going to do a light green all over. And then I'm going to go over it. This is a metallic marker. Just going across the surface. Don't care about the sides because the sides are usually burnt by the laser cutter. So they're kind of finished. They're not too obvious. Okay, there's one guy. He's looking like he's blending in pretty nicely. keep our color together. So we've got the pinks and then the teal as a punch of color. Alrighty. And then I'm going to take that blue that was a little dark, and I'm just going to add some detail. So I'm going to use, I better use the other end. So I'm going to make his body a blue, and I'll show you when he's done. And I think I just might go around the outside edge with a little bit of blue from the center. So there he is. He's got some blue and some green going on. He's going to go up in that corner. And this guy's going to have a similar thing happening. And I'm literally just, wherever the color kind of lands is where it's going to stay. Alrighty. So these two guys I can't fold. So they are just going to stay on their own up in this corner, but they're going to fly off in different directions. And I'm going to put a flight path for them. So these are going to need some liquid adhesive. So you just tap it all over. It's very hard to adhere them any other way. So this one is going to fly this way. There we go. And this one is going to fly the other way. So I might add some Winkostella here and there to sparkle a few things up. Otherwise, I'm pretty much done. I don't think I need to do, I might put some Winkostella on the letters, hand do it. There we go. To make the path, I'm just going to use a gray marker. So I have, let's see, just want to make sure it's not too dark. I have several different grays, and I want to use the end. Yeah, that'll work. So this guy is going to go behind that picture, and this one is going to do a wonky pathway. There we go. And this one's just sitting. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what we've done. See, there's the pathway, and that's the edge of the picture. So the pathways are coming out from behind. We've got the detail and the pop dotting happening with the title. This we just left as is. In the corner, we've done a lot of work to get this to look more 3D-ish. Yes, when you put it in a page protector, it'll flatten somewhat, but because we haven't glued it flat, it will still have some buoyancy inside your page protector. And this little guy at the corner, and like I said, I'm probably going to put some glossy accents on that to bring that out just a little bit. So that is our finished product, and I hope that you enjoyed your workshop today, and we will see you next Thursday with something totally new. Talk to you later. Bye.